Hey YouTube, this is Jay with Dr. Puppet Who, and we've been doing some really fun stuff here for the last couple of days. We decided from a lot of feedback that we got from everyone that we wanted to create a 3D, well, a real practical set, at least the control room set for our Dr. Puppet Who series. We've done so much stuff with green screen and a lot of computer generated imagery, and a lot of it was because we didn't really have the budget and the time initially to create these things. Well, now we've got access, which we didn't have a couple of years ago when we started this, to a 3D printer. This guy right here. And we've been using the 3D printer to build a lot of things. Props, you may have seen Joseph's spacesuit was all created with the 3D printer. Well, we got the idea a couple of days ago, why not try to create a whole console? Well, we knew we couldn't do an entire console that was as really big, so we had to come down to a size. So we used the size of the wooden console that we have in our control room, the one we use now, the wooden control room, which was, and this is probably just a touch smaller than that, just because the 3D print could only be so large. So our console, and let me show it to you, is about 19 inches, which we're really pretty excited about. So if you take a look at this, you know, this is my hand in relation to the console. And what's really cool is that, you know, you can see me controlling all these levers, but you can see the puppets doing that, controlling levers up. There's little cables here coming over and pushing buttons. So you can see how pulling control levers over, you can see how we would really be able to do a lot out of this. Now, if you're a puppet, let me get a puppet body here to show you. Here's one I'm working on right now. Doesn't look like much right this second. So if that's a puppet body in relation to the console, you can see the console is pretty decent size. So the puppets will be able to move around it pretty well, and they won't look too small or to it. God, I can't talk today. But they will still look they'll have a good proportion to the console. So let's take a look at how I built it. Okay. Each one is built. We did a 6-section console like the wooden control room has. And each console is split up into 2 pieces. And we had to do this in order to save on plastic, and also it's actually much more structurally sound because there's plastic ribs running through here. So if I pull this up, you can see on the inside, I didn't use high resolution. I used actually a 0.3 rather than a 0.1 or a 0.2. The reason for that is I knew I was going to have to do a lot of sanding. So I didn't really want to extend the print time any longer than they already were, because this 1/4 side, or this one side, which is an 1/8, took about 4 hours. So this whole piece would be 8 hours to print, each one of these. So you can figure the time was from there. So we wanted to create something that was structurally sound and was going to be supportive. And if you look at the inside diameter here, it fits the inside diameter of a piece of 2-inch PVC. I used that as a reference because I wanted a smaller, if you pull back, I wanted a smaller rotor so that it wouldn't obstruct. A big rotor would give us less room to control, and it would obstruct the view a lot. Another reason why we went with the 6-sided console rather than, you know, the typical 8-side that you see in a lot of them, especially the 1985 and all the classic ones really, except for the wooden one and except for the Paul McGann movie. Everything was pretty much 8-sided. But you can see right now, if we'd made this 8-sided, we would have had no room for control. So really, this was the smallest that we could do it, or the largest we could make it, with as few cuts to make it doable. Now is creating all the pieces to put on it, all our lever controls, buttons and knobs, and we're doing a lot of that in 3D. So if you take a look at this is an 85 console. And I go back to these 3D models that I made just because I want to get reference for what I want to do. Now, the 85 console is not really what I want to use. The reason it's not is because it was really updated. I mean, it has a very 1980s look to it. All the buttons and levers and switches, it all feels very 1980s, which there's nothing wrong with that. But the console that I keep going back to, for me, is the McGann console. And I did a model of that back in, several years ago. And I created, actually you can see it in the 2nd episode of A Leak in Time. And let's go take a look at this guy. Bear with me a second here. All right, let's bring this in. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Now I love the retro sort of Jules Verne sci-fi look of this. It's really cool. So I've pulled a lot of inspiration from this, and if you can take a look at my console, some of the switches and buttons and even the little cables that run through here I've definitely got from this console. There's a lot of things that I wanted to add, and actually as an homage to this one, the model, I pulled these switches right here, and, no, I'm sorry, these switches, and what else did I pull? There's one more thing that I put on here from here. Oh, right, this light right here I also put on. And that's going to be on the actual model. So I'm going to pull up the design for the actual model and show you what we've been doing. Okay, so these are some of the levers, the switches that are on the Megane console. Here's that light I was talking about. And this is set up to be, let me get a better view here. This is a perspective view, if I can hold the camera steady. Let's go to a shaded view. So what I did was I took the panel, the inside panel, I flattened it out so that I could create all my designs. And these are the layouts for that panel. This is how they're printed right here. So these are these side pieces, and it's printed. Now, so I've got this lever control that's about to be printed. The light's going to be printed soon. So I'm modeling everything on top of this panel to give myself a view that you'll be able to see. And then that's what the final control will look like. And as you can see, if you compare the two, that's what it looks like now. I just have to finish gluing everything together and getting all the supports in. So we're very excited about this. It's going to be kind of a new stage. We're going to have a couple of wall sections we can move around and some pylons. We're going to have control levers. It's going to have wonderful lights inside of it. It's going to be just a tremendous amount of fun. And I hope you stick with us, because the next few episodes are going to feature this control being built, and also it's going to feature the final use of it in one of the episodes. So stick around, it's going to be a lot of fun.